A serial killer is on the loose, torturing girls until they meet a gruesome end. But just as all hope seems lost, a mysterious entity intervenes, saving one girl from the clutches of death. But who is this entity, and what motivates them to save her? Stay tuned to find out more, and don't forget to let us know which movie recap you'd like to see next. The movie opens with an eerie, empty house. But it isn't entirely empty. Something is already lurking inside. We see the house through its eyes as it moves around, eventually settling inside a cupboard. Soon after, a family arrives to check out the house. As soon as they step in, the entity creeps down, observing them closely. The woman leading the tour is Rebecca, who instantly falls in love with the house. Even though it's over her budget, she decides to buy it because it's close to her son Tyler's school. He's a professional swimmer, and she wants nothing to interfere with his training. Rebecca's husband isn't thrilled about her decision. He believes their daughter, Chloe, isn't ready for such a big move. She recently lost her best friend, Nadia, and has been struggling to even leave the house. But Rebecca doesn't seem to care about Chloe's feelings. She's already made up her mind. As Rebecca and her husband discuss the house, the entity listens carefully. It senses Rebecca's emotional vulnerability and starts to follow her. While exploring, Rebecca stumbles upon an old mirror, nearly 100 years old, as the house's owner tells her. Meanwhile, Chloe wanders into a room and feels as though someone is watching her from the cupboard. The scene shifts, and we see renovations starting on the house. Strangely, many of the workers quit and leave in a hurry. They claim something unnatural is present inside the house. Regardless, Rebecca's family soon moves in. One day, while on the phone, Rebecca reveals that she committed fraud at her company to afford the house. Shockingly, she has no remorse. She believes it's justifiable when it's for family. Meanwhile, Chloe is completely alone. She cries herself to sleep. When she wakes up, she senses someone nearby. Nervously, she approaches the cupboard and whispers, "Nadia, is that you?" She believes her friend's spirit has come to be with her, but the entity remains silent. The next day, Chloe's room is a mess, with books scattered everywhere. She leaves to take a bath, and while she's gone, the entity moves around her room. It examines a photo of Chloe and Nadia before quietly tidying up the space. When Chloe returns, she is terrified to see everything perfectly arranged. She screams. But after a moment, she convinces herself that Nadia is simply helping her. Her dad rushes in, asking what happened. Chloe lies, saying she saw a rat. She doesn't want to tell him about the ghost. Downstairs, Chloe's dad expresses his concern to Rebecca. He reminds her that Chloe's friend overdosed on drugs and that another girl in town was recently murdered in the same way. He insists they need to take better care of Chloe. But Rebecca brushes off his worries, telling him he's overthinking things. Later, Tyler arrives home with his friend Ryan. He introduces Ryan to his family, and Ryan is immediately smitten with Chloe. But Tyler warns him to stay away from his sister. That night, Rebecca and her husband argue again about Chloe. He suggests therapy, but Rebecca insists that Chloe just needs time. Frustrated, he reminds her that she has 2 children, not just Tyler. The next day, Chloe is home alone when Ryan stops by looking for Tyler. Chloe invites him in and offers him a drink. At first, Ryan hesitates, saying Tyler warned him not to go into her room, but eventually he does anyway. The two start talking, and soon they take drugs together. Chloe opens up about her loneliness since Nadia's death. Ryan listens intently, then confesses that he has never lost anyone and wonders what it feels like. Chloe, desperate for someone to talk to, continues sharing her pain. Ryan, in turn, talks about his toxic home life and how his mother never loved him. As they grow closer, the entity gets angry. It violently shakes the cupboard, causing it to collapse. Ryan assumes the cupboard was just unstable, but Chloe knows better. She feels a powerful gust of wind hitting her face, a warning from Nadia's spirit to stay away from Ryan. That night, during dinner, Chloe finally decides to speak up. She asks her family if they've ever felt another presence in the house, something they couldn't see. Tyler immediately dismisses her, saying her friend's death has messed with her mind. His words sting, and Chloe bursts into tears. Instead of comforting her, their dad scolds her for causing a scene. Annoyed, Tyler storms off, followed by their mom. Later, Tyler tries to apologize, but Chloe is too upset. She yells at him and slams the door in his face. Angrily, he goes to complain to their dad, but his dad just tells him to be more understanding of Chloe's grief. However, Tyler doesn't really care. Instead, he brags to his mom about a cruel prank he pulled on a girl. He leaked her private photos online. Instead of scolding him, Rebecca says nothing. But the entity in the house isn't so forgiving. That night, it storms into Tyler's room and starts smashing everything: his trophies, his medals, his prized possessions. The loud noise wakes everyone. Chloe rushes in first, followed by the rest of the family. They are horrified by the destruction. Panic sets in. Everyone rushes outside, too afraid to stay in the house. Chloe, however, remains calm. She tells them that it's just Nadia, her friend, and there's nothing to be scared of. But Tyler and Rebecca aren't convinced. They refuse to go back inside. At this point, even the skeptics have to admit something supernatural is happening. Chloe's dad finally calls the real estate agent who sold them the house and demands an explanation. The woman insists there was never anything wrong with the house before. But if they believe there is an entity, she knows someone who might help. Her sister-in-law, a psychic. Desperate, Chloe's dad agrees. The next afternoon, the psychic arrives. The moment she steps inside, she feels an unnatural breeze on her face. That's all she needs to confirm it. This house is haunted, and there is indeed a presence watching them. As soon as the psychic arrived at the house, she observed small things around and immediately told everyone that there was a presence in the house. She explained that this presence was suffering just like Chloe. Just as Chloe was stressed after her friend's death, this entity was also experiencing distress. Everyone was shocked to hear this because no one had told the psychic about Chloe's situation. The psychic further explained that only Chloe could sense this presence. Because of her trauma, she had become highly sensitive, and this had opened the door to the fourth dimension for her. Through this, spirits and supernatural entities could communicate with her and make their presence known, something that ordinary people couldn't experience. The psychic shared that she had gone through a similar experience herself. When she faced trauma, the fourth-dimensional door opened for her as well. She had always kept this door open to help others. Chloe then asked if the entity was her friend Nadia. The psychic said no, she didn't know who the entity was. In fact, the entity itself didn't even know its own identity. It was stuck in the wrong dimension, in the wrong timeline, and couldn't find a way out. She explained that time behaves strangely in the fourth dimension. The past and future overlap, causing confusion. Sometimes souls get lost and end up in different timelines. The psychic then noticed an old mirror at the back of the house. She touched it and said that ancient mirrors often act as a connection to spirits. She wrote in the mirror, attempting to communicate with the entity. However, as she did this, a strange blue light appeared in the house, and she felt a powerful shock through her body. She collapsed from the impact and later left the house, feeling weak and unwell. After a long time, the entity stopped disturbing the family. Even when Chloe got closer to Ryan, the entity did not interfere. Instead, it hid inside the closet to avoid everything. One day, after spending time with Ryan, Chloe went to take a bath. Meanwhile, the entity noticed Ryan secretly adding drugs to Chloe's juice. To stop her from drinking it, the entity shook the table, causing the glass to fall and spill the juice. Chloe didn't find this too strange and simply cleaned up the mess. She also didn't feel the entity's presence at that moment. She only sensed it when she was extremely emotional or vulnerable. But ever since she became friends with Ryan, her mental health had improved. Because of this, The fourth-dimensional door that had opened for her started closing, and she could no longer feel spirits. Later, Chloe and Ryan had a conversation. Chloe told him that her parents wouldn't be home on Friday and invited him over. Ryan agreed, even though they both knew Tyler would be at home that day. That same day, the psychic visited Rebecca's husband. She told him that the entity in the house was not connected to the past, but rather the future. It had come to stop something terrible from happening, something related to the window. However, Rebecca's husband didn't understand her message. Since Rebecca had already forbidden the psychic from coming to the house, he asked her to leave. That night, the entity desperately tried to communicate with Chloe. It wanted to warn her about something urgent. It tried waking her up and touching her, but an invisible barrier prevented it from reaching her. Chloe had moved past her trauma, and because of this, she could no longer feel or see the entity. Finally, Friday arrived. Ryan came to Tyler's house as planned. First, he met Tyler, then went straight to the kitchen. He prepared 2 glasses of juice and secretly mixed drugs into both of them. He gave 1 glass to Tyler, who drank it and soon fell asleep. Then Ryan took the second glass and went to Chloe's room. When he entered the room, Chloe immediately felt something was wrong. She asked nervously, "Where is Tyler?" Ryan replied, "Don't worry, I put him to sleep." Chloe instantly understood that Ryan must have drugged Tyler. She was disturbed by this and asked Ryan to leave her room. She no longer wanted to be near him. Ryan tried to calm her down and handed her the glass of drugged juice, urging her to drink it. The entity watched everything unfold and desperately wanted to stop Chloe from drinking it. But because it couldn't physically touch humans, it was unable to knock over the glass this time. Unfortunately, Chloe drank the juice and soon lost consciousness. That's when Ryan's true nature was revealed. He was a psychopath who enjoyed torturing and killing girls. He took a cling wrap and wrapped it around Chloe's mouth, suffocating her. Every time she was on the verge of dying, he would remove it just in time. He enjoyed watching his victims suffer. It was then revealed that Ryan had murdered Chloe's friend Nadia and another girl before her. He was a serial killer. The entity tried everything to save Chloe but was powerless. In desperation, it decided to wake Tyler. But just like with Chloe, it couldn't touch him either. The entity then knocked things over, hoping the noise would wake Tyler up. But he remained unconscious due to the drugs. In a final attempt, the entity screamed loudly in Tyler's ear. This time, Tyler woke up, startled and frightened. As soon as he regained his senses, he remembered that Ryan had come to his house and was now missing. Realizing that his sister could be in danger, he rushed upstairs. Upon entering Chloe's room, he saw Ryan trying to kill her. Without thinking, Tyler charged at Ryan and tackled him. Both of them tumbled out of the window. They fell from a great height, and both died upon impact. In the next scene, we see Chloe's family leaving the house. The tragedy had taken their son away, and they couldn't stay there any longer. Rebecca was devastated. She had bought this house for her son, whom she loved dearly. Losing him completely shattered her. As she struggled with grief, she began to sense the entity's presence. This time, her connection to the supernatural world had started forming. She walked towards the 100-year-old mirror, where she finally saw the entity. And that's when she realized the shocking truth. The entity had been none other than her son Tyler all along. It was his soul, which had come back from the future to save Chloe. Upon realizing this, Rebecca broke down in tears. She screamed and cried as she told her husband and Chloe, "The entity was your brother. Tyler came here to save you, Chloe." Hearing this, both of them started crying as well. In the final scene, we see Tyler's spirit leaving the house. He had fulfilled his purpose, saving Chloe. Now he was free. His soul ascended towards the sky, and with that, the story ended. One question keeps popping into my mind. If you were in Tyler's shoes, would you sacrifice your own life to save your sister? If you like this movie, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel.